Inside Tom Brady's insane car collection worth over $4 million, including a Bugatti Veyron. The 45-year-old Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback's garage includes a Rolls-Royce Ghost, two Aston Martins, a Bugatti Veyron Supersport, and a Ferrari. Now, this is the funny thing too, right? Because I mean, if you made like hundreds of millions of dollars through your career, I understand the desire to have like a impressive, awesome car collection, especially if you're like a car individual. But at the same time, you only get a certain amount of time per day to even be able to drive all the vehicles. So during a 22-year career in the NFL, Brady has accumulated a net worth of $180 million. It's definitely going to be, I think, more than that. And also, not to mention his announcing career as well, announcer career. So here are some of the quarterback's most stunning vehicles. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport. Brady's cream of the crop is his Bugatti Veyron Supersport, the most expensive vehicle in his garage, valued of $3 million. The car hits 60 miles per hour in just 2.5 seconds and tops out at 268 miles per hour. The power comes from its 8-liter W16 engine, delivering 1,200 horsepower. Bugatti only produced 450 Veyrons in 10 years, and the NFL stars among a select group of celebrity owners, including Tom Cruise, Jay-Z, and Simon Cowell. Now, here's the thing, right? Like a Bugatti Veyron Supersport looks like it'd be a really cool car to have, to look at, to drive, etc. But at the same time, the maintenance of a Bugatti is so expensive. But not just expensive, it is such a hassle, right? Like, unless you're willing to just take it to like a custom shop and not deal with any warranties or anything like that, do everything just at a local shop nearby you, I almost feel like it's not even worth it, even if you have the money to buy a Bugatti, because you're gonna have to basically like ship it or like fly it back to where it was made to get the tires done, the oil changes, all that sort of stuff, and you gotta do that every single year to the tune of like I think like $100,000 total in terms of like maintenance per year that it has to have no matter what, even if it's driven or not, which is crazy. Or like the maintenance costs on a Bugatti to do it, you know, to factory is insane, right? At that point, it's almost like it'd be better to like buy a Lamborghini Huracan that's brand new or even pre-owned, it doesn't really matter, but buy a Lamborghini Huracan for like 200K, and that thing is basically as reliable as a Volkswagen in a sense, right? Like a Volkswagen Jetta or something. It's pretty crazy. So I mean, there's been Huracans that have over 100,000 miles on the odometer without really any issues at all. Like they exist. But a Bugatti, it probably break down way too often to even be able to get to that point. 2015 Rolls-Royce Ghost. A millionaire's car collection isn't complete without a Rolls Royce. And that's exactly what Brady was spotted driving in 2019, despite having signed a lucrative deal with Aston Martin. The 2015 Rolls-Royce Ghost boasts an impressive 6.6-liter V12 engine capable of producing 563 horsepower. The luxury model features aluminum interior accents, aluminum wood, dash trims, a power liftgate, 16 speakers, and leather seats. Now, here's the thing, too, right? Which, by the way, it's kind of funny. Tom Brady and his wife Giselle Bundchen photographed, right? When they're not basically going to be married anymore. But the interesting thing about Rolls Royces is like they're just basically boats on the road. Like they're very big, very heavy, massive vehicles that apparently feel like you're driving on air, right? You're riding on air. Now the thing is, I don't really know if I personally like a Rolls-Royce Ghost. I kind of like the more coupe versions of Rolls-Royce, personally. Because I mean, just think about it, right? Like, think about spending like $400,000 on a Rolls-Royce. Like, I don't know. That just seems kind of like insane to me for a Rolls-Royce. 2017 Aston Martin DB11. Brady hasn't paid for all his cars after penning a deal with British high-end car manufacturer in 2017. The quarterback was gifted an Aston Martin DB11. Famed for its association with James Bond, the automaker wanted to promote his cars by partnering with the biggest NFL player in the world and signed Brady to a multi-year deal which he announced on Twitter. The DB11 is powered by a V12 engine and sits behind 600 horsepower. The car is equipped with a rear-mounted 8-speed automatic transmission manufactured by ZF Friedrichshafen. Now here's the thing. I think Aston Martins are probably one of the prettiest cars out there, but also I've heard pretty horrendous things about the reliability of an Aston Martin, which sucks because I mean these are like really, really cool looking cars. But also the values on Aston Martins drop crazy. I think not too long ago, before like the really weird car market, they had like old Aston Martins that still looked pretty new for I think like 50 grand, 60 grand, and like brand new, those cars were like nearly almost 300 grand. It was crazy. So the DB11 goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds and has a top speed of 200 miles per hour. On top of that, his sponsorship with Aston Martin, Brady was able to design a Vanquish S, which the company built as a limited edition model. There were only 12 made and shipped in 2018, and one of those 12 sits in Brady's garage. The 2017 model is worth $211,995. 2018 limited edition TB12 Aston Martin Vanquish S Volante. Named after Brady himself, the 2018 limited edition TB12 Aston Martin Vanquish S Volante was designed by the NFL superstar. Only 12 of these cars were ever produced, making them extremely rare. And the Vanquish S comes with a 5.9-liter V12 engine and produces 595 horsepower while featuring a top speed of 201 miles per hour. The supercar goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds and is valued at $359,950. Again, like, this is a lot of money for an Aston Martin. I think if that's what it actually looks like, I think the Aston Martin actually looks pretty nice, and like this convertible and all that kind of stuff. It looks pretty nice, right? Like, again, Aston Martins, I think personally, are very pretty cars, but trying to justify spending like $360,000 on this car, I don't know. I mean, but here's the thing. Again, I understand that if you're making like hundreds of millions of dollars, what's 360 grand? It's basically nothing, right? This is basically someone buying a very cheap push mower, right? When they're making like $190,000 a year or something like that, with $1 million in the bank. So 2015 Ferrari M458 T. Here comes the horses. The three-time NFL MVP's car collection boasts a Ferrari M458 T, one of the more expensive cars available in American showrooms. The M459T comes with a 4.5-liter F136F V8 engine capable of producing 562 horsepower. The car reaches a top speed of 210 miles per hour and can hit 60 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds. Now, I gotta say, the Ferrari 458s are really cool looking. I think those are probably the coolest looking Ferraris, other than maybe the F40. So the car's price in 2015 was $240,000 for the standard two-door coupe and almost $300,000 for the coupe spéciale. Brady's M458T model is valued at a whopping $230,000. But what's interesting, like the prices on these cars might be so different today at the time of this recording because the car market is insane. So they probably all dropped crazy in value since then, but because of this weird car market, they probably soared, maybe even past their original price points, which is insane. A 2009 Audi R8. Now I do gotta say, Audi R8s are awesome cars. In case Brady isn't satisfied with his red Ferrari, he can always switch over to his red Audi R8 equipped with black interior. The R8 goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. The all-wheel drive vehicle has been around since 2006 and was actually the first production car that featured full LED headlamps. Brady paid $165,000 for the 2009 model, which boasts a 5.2-liter V10 engine and produces 428 horsepower. Now, what's funny though, he purchased it at like $165,000, right? But and by the way, I'm pretty certain that's not the 2009 model at all. I think that's the more new one. But that 2009 Audi R8 right now might only be worth like 65K. Like it crashed so hard in prices, but when that came out, the Audi R8 when it first came out, so many people fell in love with that car. So 2011 Land Rover Range Rover. By the way, I really never understand why people get Range Rovers because the reliability on Range Rovers and how quickly they tend to devalue is insane. Like half of the time that you own a Range Rover, it might be in the shop, and also it will lose like 70% of its value typically after 5 years. Like it's crazy. So the 7-time Super Bowl Champions Collection also includes a 2011 Range Rover. The luxury midsize SUV features a supercharged V8 engine, and Brady keeps the SUV as a family car, using it to run his 3 kids around. With a 28 highway MPG, this is one of the most fuel efficient vehicles in the Brady collection. And the 45-year-old spent over $100,000 on the Land Rover. And that Land Rover, a 2011 one, might be worth like 20K, 15K, I don't know. A 2010 Lexus GS 450h. Brady even has a mid-size hybrid in the form of the Lexus GS. Oh wow. The Japanese-made car comes with a strong performance and insanely quiet cabin for Brady and company to ride around without being noticed. Now that is a pretty good option to have. If you want to like be like pretty stealthy, be like a normal person, that ain't bad. The luxury sports sedan offers up the performance of a V8 engine with the fuel economy of a V6. The car, perhaps the most modest in the collection, is valued at $57,000. Feel free to give your thoughts on this if you stumble upon this. I mean, look, technically speaking, it doesn't really matter what he pretty much does or like buys in his car because for him to actually buy enough cars to where it would actually negatively affect his personal finance situation, we're talking he'd probably have to buy over like 150 Bugattis brand new. Like it's just crazy, right? Like it's basically almost impossible for him to truly screw himself financially. Not to mention because he also has like a announcer contract in the works that when he does actually retire, it's going to be worth I think what like 200 million plus or something like that, which is crazy. So it's just something to really think about. Like there's nothing wrong with getting really nice cars, even if they're a hassle to deal with and all that kind of stuff. If when you buy these cars, these types of cars, they don't have any impact on your financial situation. Like another way to look at this, Someone who's making like $100,000 a year after tax, there's not really that big of a deal if you were to buy a brand new car worth 40 grand, right? Now, buying something more than 50 grand, brand new, all that sort of stuff, right, would be kind of a too much to have in a car because that car would typically go down in value, which is not necessarily a good financial situation, right? But basically 40,000 and under while you're making like 100,000 a year is okay, right? But you shouldn't have like two, three, or four different cars all costing about 40 grand each and you're only making 100,000 a year. That isn't that smart. Now you could technically do something like that if you're debt free, got money in the bank in terms of like an emergency fund, sinking fund, as well like just for like everyday expenses, right? And money in retirement, and maybe also own your house to where you don't really have any expenses, then it doesn't really matter what you necessarily do with the excess cash because it doesn't really have any impact on your life. But still, just be somewhat reasonable or have a little bit common sense when you end up buying cars that you really like. If you're a car guy, just use a little bit of common sense and you're going to be fine financially. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money so that you could get into a situation where you could have really cool cars even when you're not making that much money because it doesn't affect yourself financially, go down below and learn how I got a debt and grew my net worth.